When you look at, again, the macroeconomic situation, one of the indicators that has been worrying a few people is inflation. And obviously there are two schools of thought regarding this. One that believes that it is mainly a supply side issue and that it will pass. And there's another which believes that it is a much more structural problem and that core inflation could create some concern because it's been stubborn for some time. Are you worried about inflation?
See, the targeting of inflation in India, this part of my answer is purely on your technical question. And those of us who might say, all right, for the finance minister to talk of numbers and the technicalities, but Aam Aadmi in the ground is playing, no, I come to that a bit later. First question, first aspect of it is India's targeting of inflation is not targeting a number. In the sense, the 4% number that we frequently talk about is the midpoint. We allow for a plus or minus 2%. So, if inflation has breached 6, then it's a matter of concern. And twice in the last few months, yes, it crossed 6. And therefore, it was an immediate issue for all of us, and we as group of ministers sat down, decided that some of the duties will have to be reduced for importing certain goods which are essential for our let's say edible products, and also trying to allow for greater imports of some of the things which were restricted in terms of the quantum that can be brought into this country. So edible oil or pulses all were considered on this route. And by the time the impact of these come to the ground, it does take a couple of months, by which time definitely it hurts the budget planning of middle class and even the poorer sections of our society. In the meanwhile, we try to release stocks which are held of grains or pulses, but obviously that can have an impact only. And when we're talking of pulses, it's also some pulse for some states are more desired, and whilst the other states don't even care for it. Like, for instance, if you were to talk of southern states, it's tur dal, whereas elsewhere it's moong. A third eastern part of India desires only chenna. So there are, how much of quantity of each would you have in the buffer stock is a different issue altogether. And issues, again, broadly, which you called as supply side issue, issues of perishable vegetables and fruits, whether they are onions, whether they are tomatoes, supply constraints are particularly in this year. Every year we have that cycle between one crop and the other, by which time the stocks are depleted and you're waiting for the next harvest to come, and therefore in between you have this problem. But this year, the problem has been much aggravated because of floods in some areas. Floods at a time when you're just about to harvest, and that itself has finished the crop because they are quickly perishable ones, they can't take waterlogging. So really there are practical problems in the supply side. I remember 2 years ago we started having this radiation method along with the Baba Atomic Research Center to make sure that perishable commodities can be given a slightly longer shelf life if only they are radiated to acceptable levels, particularly for edible products. That is only being done in a very small quantity. It is not yet adequately picked up. So the ways to prevent perishable crops from losing shelf life have to be ramped up. But for now, I think by early January, those commodities which are in short supply should be back on the shelves. With that, we expect the prices of perishable goods to come down. And on the edible oil, enough and more imports have been allowed. Imports are coming in, and that should take care of some of the edible oil, whether it's palm oil or refined oils. Peculiar problems of particular problems of sarsong should be all right sooner when the refineries, oil, extractors can get a better job done of it. So more than the systemic problems, it is the supply side aggravation which is causing this year particular difficulties.